Hi folks, welcome back. Thank you for watching. Please do hit subscribe if you haven't done so yet. It really does help when you do that. So today folks, we're going to be getting wobbly. Now, as regulars to this channel will know, I'm a big fan of vintage modulation pedals, flanges, phasers, tremolos, all that sort of stuff. But my absolute favourite type of modulation effect is chorus. Now, chorusing got a bit of a bad reputation back in the 1980s when it was put on literally everything and everybody got completely sick of it. And still to this day, there really is a bit of a sort of recoil against chorusing as an effect, because people tend to think that if you step on a chorus pedal, you're only chasing after that 1980s cliche. I, on the other hand, could not care less about that 1980s cliche, and I just absolutely love everything about chorusing. Now, most boutique pedal manufacturers nowadays, if they're looking to put out an analog chorus pedal, tend to base their designs, at least in part, on this, the Old Boss CE2. An absolute classic chorusing pedal, and it's one of those sounds that's just very familiar. If someone steps on one of these, you know that sound. It's used on so much stuff over the years. But there is another vintage chorus pedal that's held in as high regard as the CE2 really, and even more so in certain circles, especially Nirvana circles. And that is this, the Electro Harmonix Small Clone. Now on this you don't get a depth knob like you do on the CE2, you just get a high and low depth switch. But it's a wonderful sounding chorus pedal, even though most builders tend to overlook it when they're looking to base a pedal on a vintage design. However, the chorus pedal I've had on my pedal board for the last 4 or 5 years now is this one here, the Analog.Man Mini Chorus, and this is based on the old Small Clone. Now, you will have seen this in all the pedal board build videos I've done over the years, but I've never actually made a standalone demo video of the Mini Chorus. So I wanted to put that right today. But I thought, rather than just plugging into it and going, hey, that sounds wobbly, why don't we compare it to the pedal it's based on, the GOAT, the old Small Clone. Now, this particular Small Clone is a very early example. You can tell that by the fact it says Mini Chorus on it rather than Full Chorus, which they used after about a year and have done ever since. But there were a few of these made before this one that had, I think, Reticon BBD chips in it. This one has the much more common MN3007 BBD in it, which is exactly what Analog.Man uses in the Mini Chorus too. So they're very equivalent in terms of their chipset. So today, I'm not going to do too many excerpts of playing. There's only so much wobble that even I can stomach. However, I'm going to do some clean playing, and I'm also going to put these two pedals pre and post gain, because the much more sort of classic way of using a chorus pedal was to run it into the front end of a cranked amp in the days before effect loops. Whereas nowadays, we tend to put our modulations on big pedal boards and run them post gain. So I'm going to do pre and post gain to show you exactly how they behave in both those two situations. So without further ado, folks, here we go. folks. Now, please do comment underneath. Let me know what you thought of these two pedals today. Which was your favourite? Do you think the Analog.Man does a good job of copying the sound of the GOAT or not? I love chatting nerdy guitar stuff with you folks down in the comment section. Now, having played through these two pedals for a morning and just quickly listened back to the audio I've recorded today, they are very, very close in sound, aren't they? You can dial them in to sound pretty much equivalent to each other. Now, there were a few small differences between them, really not major ones, but I think the Analog.Man Mini Chorus definitely has a touch more low end to it than the original, and we could really hear that today when I was running them post-gain after the Volbrook Kaluna, because when you give modulation pedals a really harmonically rich, saturated sound, you tend to be able to hear the filtering they do more clearly than you can with a clean tone, and we could really hear that this was holding on to more low end, this was shelving more of it off. But it completely depends on how you're using the pedal and your personal preferences as to whether that's a good or a bad thing. And I would personally say this is more suited to being run post-gain to hold on to that fat thumpy low end. This is arguably more suited to being run pre-gain because it shelves off a bit more lows and keeps the low end tight when you're running that extra harmonic complexity into a gain stage. So arguably more suited for slightly different applications when interfacing with gain, but very, very close overall. It's not a major difference at all. I do also think that the Small Clone had a tiny bit more shimmery top end to it over the Analog.Man, really not much. But it also had a fair bit less headroom when you were really hitting the guitar hard. This sounded much cleaner, and I think you could really hear that when I was using my Bailey Curve Special with the PAF pickups in, and I was on the bridge pickup hitting some clean chords fairly hard. This was definitely crunching up a little bit. But again, it completely depends on your preferences as to whether that's a good or a bad thing. You could say that distortion is ugly, or you could call it character. So it completely depends on how you view it, but this did sound a fair bit cleaner. Now today I was running the Mini Chorus at 9 volts, which is kind of its standard. On my pedal board, I typically run this at 15 volts for even more headroom to make doubly sure it doesn't distort, because I like a nice clean chorus sound. But just something to note that this has a little bit less headroom than this when you're really hitting the guitar nice and hard. But overall, you can absolutely dial this in to sound very equivalent to the original. And considering I went on Reverb this morning and found one of these in pretty lousy condition with the Mini Chorus logo for a huge amount of money, you can go on the Analog.Man website, you can spec this up with speed switches, stereo outputs, dual sides of the pedal, all that sort of stuff. It uses the original new old stock Bucket Brigade delay chips, exactly the same as what's in here. It has a standard sort of power adapter rather than the Electro Harmonix mini headphone jack, and it's true bypass compared to buffered bypass. There's a lot of plus points for the Analog.Man, and this is what's on my board, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon because I absolutely love it. But if you like the original sort of Small Clone sound and you want to get 98% of the way there for a lot less money and a lot more practicality, this is the one for you. It's a stunning pedal. So there we are, folks. I hope this video was interesting and useful for you. Please do let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments section, and please do carry on subscribing. I know I always say it, but it makes a huge difference when you hit subscribe. So thank you, folks, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.